Canes fans, week 3 is finally a big game week. This is probably the game that garnered as much attention as any, if not more, throughout the offseason as we talked it up many times as a true barometer for this football team. Let's talk Texas A&M Miami, of course, on Hurricanes Live right here, the voice of college football. Cam Underwood here as usual on a Wednesday night. Cam, how you doing?
Doing great. So, yeah, just good to be here and a couple days away from the first really big game of the MarkRogersTV era. So, yeah, ready to chop it up.
So, how does your week progress in regards to just kind of in the back of your mind, regardless of what's going on in your life, at the workplace, and otherwise, leading into this kind of game versus Bethune-Cookman, Southern Miss, etc.?
In setting the calendar for this week with the State of the U contributors, on the email that I sent last Friday, I just said, when the game is over, the Southern Miss game on Saturday is Texas A&M week, which is the same as Florida State week, as, Florida week, Alabama week, because we played them recently, Clemson week. Like, as soon as that clock hits 0, focus changes. Because Southern Miss, it was nice. They had Frank Gore Jr. He had 3 yards on 10 attempts or something like that, or 13 yards on 10 carries. And that was a nice, 10 yards on 7 carries. That was a nice, thing. Like, oh, yeah, like Frank Gore Jr. Everybody knows him. He's his name is Frank Gore. Like, duh, you know what I mean? So, that'll be it. But, not really paying them too much attention, really doing some self-scouting, really, thinking about what we can be doing and who played well and who didn't and things like that. But for a spotlight game such as this, yeah, you really start, for me, pretty much as soon as I hit post on the good, the bad, and the ugly from the previous game, I'm on to the next one, if I've not already done that. So yeah, this is a game that, has had everybody's eyes on it for a long time. The calendar date has been circled and everything, just making sure there's a bunch of different watch parties, and everything. I'm not going to pub the one because, whatever, different outlet, that's their thing. And hey, I'm sure that a bunch of people are going to go. I was thinking about going to that one myself because I'm friends with those guys, but it's way down south by Miami International Airport, and I live in Fort Lauderdale, and it's a 9:00 kick, and I'm probably going to have to create content. So that's a bridge too far for me personally, but I'm sure there are going to be plenty of people there. I got invited to a couple other little watch parties and things like that. There's going to be plenty of people for those and everything, but these are things that have been in the works for a while. And, I think, and there's a lot of people who are going out to College Station, for this game. So yeah, it's really a different timeline. It's this is a marquee game. So, I always treat it as such. So yeah, that whole week, as soon as the previous game ends, we're on to the next one and really focused.
I in no way want to discount Miami's victories last season against probably the 2 best teams on the regular season schedule, NC State and Pitt. Those were 2 good teams, quality teams. Miami got the job done against those teams. Mm-hmm. But since that back-to-back sequence against Virginia Tech and Notre Dame in 2017, all the good quality opponents in prime time, whether that's LSU, whether that's Alabama, whether that's Clemson, whether that's North Carolina, and a few others, Oklahoma State in the bowl game.
Yeah,
I'm not coming up with a significant win against a quality opponent in prime time on that stage. And this is the next test. And as you mentioned off the top, the first under Mario Cristobal.
Yeah, and if you look back, you're not going to find anything of real positive substance in terms of winning for Miami since that, fateful day where we ran Notre Dame out of the barn. It was, oh man, that was such a great day, man. It was such a great time. And it was just a blessing to be able to not be in the press box and be in the stands with a couple friends of mine and everything, and just tailgating before and after. It was just it was a let out from the club, man. Everyone was still at their cars, firing up the grill again. We're going to be out there drinking again, just, talking that noise because we blew them out. But since then, yeah, it's been a couple Pittsburgh games, which, that's a decent team. It's been a couple North Carolina State wins. All right. It's been a couple close Virginia games. Okay. But Nothing of real serious significance in terms of winning. So yeah, this is the next one, man.
We invite you to participate in the show. Ultimately, you guys are the producers here at Hurricanes Live at the Voice of College Football. We're here every Wednesday night with Cam Underwood. State of the U. Get on over there, as Cam mentioned. As soon as the double zeros on the clock, 30-7 Miami over Southern Miss. It was full throttle Texas A&M coverage, so there's plenty there at State of the U. All right,
Yeah.
but you can also produce this show for the next 60 minutes. Leave your comments and questions in the chat. Does Texas A&M's loss to Appalachian State dampen this matchup at all?
It does nationally, absolutely. And I mean, that's just evidenced by the fact that all offseason College Game Day planned on being in College Station this weekend. Reese Davis said as much. George Sedano, who's, a Miami guy, he produced a segment on, or created and produced, and was in there interviewing Mario Cristobal. He's already tweeted that out. A couple staffers for ESPN's Game Day leaked it that they were going to go to College Station and quickly deleted those tweets. But you can move fast, but you're not going to move faster than everybody. Now, I didn't see it immediately, but I did see some of the screenshots where they were all that. And then they go and lose to Appalachian State at home, and then all of a sudden, we're waiting on the announcement. I was like, they're waiting to put this out because they're not coming. Like, I don't know where else they're going to go. They're like, well, we're going to go to Boone, North Carolina for App State Troy instead. Right. And so, again, this was previously planned for months that they were going to College Station. They find a way to lose and look like that, only possessing the ball for 18 minutes, 37 seconds of the ball game, while Appalachian State held the ball, the balance of that, so 41 minutes and some change. And then they're like, you know what? It's early in the season. We were going to go there. They fumbled the ball and dropped the game, and we're going to go to Boone, North Carolina instead. So from a national standpoint, absolutely. I know ESPN was looking for a top 15 matchup, borderline top 10. If some other teams would have lost and we would have looked maybe a little bit better against Southern Miss, that could have been a top 10 game. You're telling me that ESPN doesn't want, and again, this has already been announced as a 9:00 kick game, right? So 8:00 Central Time, so College Station time, 8:00 kick, 9:00 Eastern, already ESPN prime time. You have everything set for that. And now all of a sudden, instead of bookending that with game day early, kickoff late, now they're taking game day on the road to the mountains of North Carolina. That invariably changes things because, it just having game day, having big noon kickoff, having Fox Sports 1's pregame show, whatever they do, having any of those shows on site for a game elevates that game. And like it, love it, hate it, whatever, College Game Day is still the high watermark for those games, right? For those pregame shows. So removing that, yeah, it does change the exterior kind of cachet, right? And just the way that Texas A&M looked. But for those of us who are, associated with or root for or whatever, University of Miami or Texas A&M University, agricultural and mechanical, no, this doesn't dampen anything. And again, we're going to be 10 toes down. We're going to be here for all these kind of things. But look, this is a huge test for Mario Cristobal and company. You're looking for proof of concept. You're looking for a step forward. And quite honestly, you're looking to see that he wins or they win a game like this that previous coaches couldn't find a way to, especially on the road, right? And then for Jimbo, look, Jimbo pockets straight. Y'all can talk all y'all want to talk. That man got that fully guaranteed contract. They're going to run him all of his money. But it's curious because their offense is stuck in 1973. And they have all kinds of talent. I heard on the Solid Verbal, Dan Rubenstead said they've had however many 4- and 5-star receivers since he's been there. Not a single one has been drafted in the NFL draft. And this is the thing that I've been talking about since Jimbo was at Florida State. Absent a generational, and seriously generational quarterback and one of the most devastating running backs that we've seen in the last 20 years, and that'd be Jameis Winston and Dalvin Cook. Absent that, His offenses are decidedly average. I mean probably a little bit below average considering the talent that you have. And he's a 8-4, 9-3 coach when he doesn't have these Heisman Trophy winners. This guy in Dalvin Cook, where you say, look, this is a close game against Miami. We're going to give the ball to number 4. It could be on a punt return. It can be on a swing pass. It could be on a tunnel screen. It could be on a handoff. It could be on a pitch, toss, whatever. We're going to give the ball to number 4. And number 4 is better than anybody that they have, and we're going to win. Absent those guys, his offense isn't like that. And I know that that's the chatter I've been reading. Good Bull, or let me say it right. What is the name of this site? Good Bull Hunting, the Texas A&M. Yeah, goodbullhunting.com. That's the Texas A&M SB Nation blog. They've had a lot of good stuff. I was in the middle of reading one thing right there. But yeah, they were talking about that even just with, Jimbo Fisher's offense just being, I would call it extra regular, but that would actually be an insult to extra regularity. You know what I mean? So, but from all sides, it's going to get early or going to get late early for Jimbo if they lose this game. And they're 1-2 and losing 2 in a row at home. And for Mario Cristobal, it's going to be, if Miami goes in there and loses, depending on how it looks, it's not going to get late early for him, i.e. towards firing or anything, but it will be a clear mother may I 2-3 steps back, especially on the way that Texas A&M looked last week. So again, for the outside, from the outside national perspective, yeah, this game lost some of its luster when Miami was kind of average against, or utilitarian against Southern Miss, and then Texas A&M loses. But for those of us, connected with this game, absolutely not. We're all, we're here and ready for action.
Yours truly had some of the same thoughts just minutes after App State to put the finishing touches on that game. I thought this makes for a good video because this is just not working well at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And 46,000 people agreed with me. At least that's how many views we got so far. So a lot of people watching this video. And yes, the wide receiver core, despite I made the same point, they have not produced top flight wide receivers despite recruiting out of high school top flight wide receivers. This is an offense, Cam, that scored a touchdown with 11 minutes left in the first quarter. And their second touchdown was a kickoff return. That touchdown was the lone touchdown against Appalachian State. They had 9 first downs in the game, just putrid on offense.
184 yards and 7 offensive points against App State. That was what they put up. Because, again, it was Devin Chain, who's a borderline world-class sprinter, got loose, stepped out of a couple tackles, a couple bad angles. That was really shockingly bad fundamentals on special teams from App State, and that's where their other touchdown came from. But 184 yards and 1 score. And, it's getting to be, a lot of – it's eerily similar to what was going on with Miami with Mark Richt when we're saying he has to give up the sticks, man. He can't call plays anymore. We got to get rid of John Richt. We got to get a play calling OC who's probably going to be quarterback coach. And just reading the beginning of one of their pieces, or a couple. Again, I've been over on goodbullhunting.com all week reading, their side of things heading into this matchup. But a couple of pieces, Jake Hubenak, who used to play there, I think he played quarterback and then switched to tight end. But he wrote a piece, another guy wrote a piece, and it was just like, yeah, man, it's just talking about, the tempo being so slow and there not being any motion. And then you're just waiting until 2 or 1 on the play clock to snap the ball. And they got these vanilla schemes and you're hoping that you got these elite athletes to make the regular play become extraordinary. But, you can scheme against that. And I was just like, yo, I wrote that about Mark Richt. Like, I wrote it pretty verbatim. And I'm not saying that they copied me because clearly they're evaluating their own thing, but it's just funny that, years later they're having a very similar conversation. I looked up a piece, I sent it over to the guy. But that was the one where I had the video of the 2 envelopes from Traffic where the guy talked to Michael Douglas's character and was like, basically you're taking over this job. The first time that you mess up or something, open the first envelope and it says, blame the previous guy. And the second time that you get in this situation, can't get yourself out of, open the envelope. And then it says, sit down and write 2 letters and put them in envelopes because you're about to be out of here. But all the other interior things, talking about the lack of variety, talking about the lack of tempo, talking about all these different kind of things. it's so eerily similar. So like I'm looking back into history a little bit for where Miami was on offense. If you're thinking in that 2018 season, that season that was back and forth with Malik Rozier and N'Kosi Perry, and just being just so sedentary, I won't even call it pedestrian. It was just ploddingly slow on offense. I mean, you're playing, and then you're going really slow, and then you're not being bold in your third and fourth down decision making, and you're being super conservative there to partner with that and all different kind of things. And it was just it's not great over there, and it's something worth watching. And to Kinson's point, yes, we do need to match. We need to come out with that energy. And that was a thing that I know Mr. Davis said with the Soldier Band from Patriot Land when he was at Miramar teaching next door to me, and a thing that I said to my choirs as well. And I know all of y'all have heard something like this, but if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. You know what I mean? So I say that to say that we need to be in that point. It's not where we had to change up everything, where we have to be, completely different from a mentality or a scheme. Well, there is some scheme that needs to improve, but like mentally, between the ears and behind the eyes, man, like that mental aspect of the game, we got to be ready, because they're going to be loud, and they're going to have, another embarrassing midnight yell practice, and they're going to let the video get out, and then they're going to put DMCA claims up on that one, like they did for the one last week. But hey, it is what it is.
We can also look at the other flip side of this, and I will take note just to add another note to the offensive ineptitude for Texas A&M in this game against App State. And it was one of those games I had like on a third screen, but then it got more and more interesting, and I started to really focus in on it. Then I watched the cut down version before I produced that video, and their one offensive touchdown drive, basically they got two running plays loose. Basically Haynes King improvised on one of them and just found the open field. It wasn't anything drawn up. That was, it was him making a play as an athlete. And then Devin Ashane, again, made a play as an athlete off a pretty base running play, and that's what it was. Then there was the two, like 35, 40-yard running plays that led to the touchdown, and that was that.
Right. I mean, it's really, but to your point, it's one running play and one passing play where they're playing man-free, and nobody has eyes on the quarterback, but the quarterback is 6'1.5", 6'2", and can run. And it's like, well, I stepped up a little bit. There's all this green grass and nobody looking at me. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just an interesting kind of scenario. So we'll see what happens.
So the flip side to all that discouragement and pessimism on the Texas A&M side would be that we see this over and over and over in college football every season, where a team can look horrible one week, and especially if they've got that kind of talent, they can be somebody completely different the next week, especially if they get the home crowd behind them, and they're either that kind of game either plays with you psychologically and derails your season, or it punches you, slaps you in the mouth, and causes you to say, okay, we're better than that. Things have to change. And
I don't know that there's going to be that much change, because schematically, I don't know that there's going to be that much change. And the thing that could really be a boon for them would be changing quarterbacks. Max Johnson or Connor Weigman, the 5-star freshman. I just think that Weigman needs a mango season, maybe. But a loss to Miami and another early loss in the SEC, maybe then they're just like, hey, we're going to, get on the job training. You know what I mean? And just, give the more talented kid, the keys to the offense. And I saw, and this is an unconfirmed report because I saw it just on Twitter as like triple hearsay. But somebody said that Texas A&M was splitting their number one quarterback snaps equally between all three guys this week. I don't necessarily believe Jimbo would do that, but they do all offer something different, but yeah, they do have so much talent that's the thing, where even absent a major change of scheme, a guy breaks a tackle, Haynes King hits Keith Brown, Miami native, Gulliver Prep. He was the one who had the third down catch that was low and behind him, and he had to slide for it, and before the field goal attempt, instead of that ball being up and he catches it and he runs and he turns that corner and goes for, I don't know, 35 yards. Maybe Haynes King makes that throw. Maybe Keith Brown throttles down 2 steps earlier because he knows, look, this guy's not going to put it over there. So let me, do what I got to do. And then all of a sudden that play that is a 4-yard completion because I slid down because I had to go catch the ball because he couldn't throw it here on 3rd and 10 with the game pretty much on the line because we're going to go for this field goal. Instead of it being a 4-yard completion, it could be with minor tweaks. All of a sudden, that's, like I said, 25, 35-yard game. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but their roster is incredibly talented. Like they pay, and look, NIL is such that, it's not against the bylaws, but they bought the best recruiting class in captivity last year. Boy, that was ridiculous. And even in that class, Evan Stewart, the 5-star receiver who had, a few catches in their loss to App State, that kid is incredible. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
The talent is there in spades and pretty much everywhere but quarterback. But again, further down the depth chart, you have the more talented guy. He's just maybe not game ready. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the more talented teams in America, but they got to put it together.
Shamar Turner had his first sack in that game too. Another prized freshman.
Shamar Stewart from Miami.
Shamar Stewart, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the number 1 defensive end from Monsignor Pace, who, I'm going to leave it there.
Hey, with the transfer portal, who knows who's going to be where in 2 years?
If you have nothing good to say. So anyways.
Man, I got to think it'd be a little foolish not for me to question Jimbo Fisher. He's making all the money to head coach, but to split reps and not give, okay, you got Max Johnson, you're okay with him, you know what he can do, but he still needs reps. Everybody needs reps in practice, unless maybe you're Tom Brady. So to split them 3 ways, that just, I could understand, okay, there's some uncertainty which way I'm going to go. I'm going to go split them between 2 guys, but 3 guys, I don't know if that's wise, if that's what's happening. CJ Taylor asks, Cam, which important recruits would you think could be at the game Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking it up here on the Texas A&M Sports Illustrated blog site. But yeah, man, they're trying to go all out. Wait, is this from this weekend? This is June 17th. Excuse me. This is an old one. Excuse me. I need the current one. I don't subscribe to TexAgs. Well, let's see if that'll work. But I know that there's a lot. I know it's like Hakeem Williams from Fort Lauderdale Stranahan High School, 5-star wide receiver that Miami has been after for, a few years now. He was a guy who I know was listed. There were a couple other guys as well. No, that's a premium article, and I don't pay for a subscription to that website. But there's more. I've seen them come down the timeline. I've seen people discussing them. But there's a couple of guys from Florida. I think Andy Jean from Miami Northwestern, 4-star wide receiver, was a guy who was supposed to maybe be going out there. Again, I don't know why you would do that. I mean, it's every podcast I've listened to, and then I started looking into it. I mean, you're talking about Bud Elliott on the Cover 3 podcast, Dan Rubenstein on Solid Verbal, a couple other guys that I listen to as well. Texas A&M is where like elite receiver recruits go to have their careers killed. Like, yep. I don't know why you would do that, but they are some recruiting monsters. I will say, they do have a very good, I mean, Jimbo knows what he's doing. And then, you back that up with all that oil money. So that's not a bad thing for them, but yeah, man. And they have that tag the other way. Yeah. So yeah, there's going to be a bunch of recruits on site this weekend. They're really putting a lot of money into making this a major recruiting weekend. And again, you would already have planned on that because you're expecting to be 2-0. You're bringing Miami, a massive national brand, a top 10 brand in the world of college football, to town. You have several guys that you've recruited from South Florida. You have the Donnell Harris kid, IM 305. I don't know where he is anymore. Keith Brown, like I already said, Shamar Stewart already, you know what I mean? And some other dudes as well who you've gone head to head against Miami for. Yeah. So, this is the spotlight non-conference game for them. So they're going to plan, to spend some of that money, that recruiting budget early. So those are a couple of names that I know for sure, Andy Jean and Hakeem Williams, but it's definitely a longer list of recruits on the site this week than that.
Can Baltimore Kane is looking for more production out of Will Mallory this week. I was going to see what he's done the first couple ball games.
I agree with Baltimore Kane, and also I'm going to do what I sometimes do and plug my own work. So I dove into the numbers of Miami's offense through 2 games, and I know that it is only 2 data points. It's up on the front page of State of the U. It's entitled, "Where Have the Explosive Plays Gone?" Because Miami's offense is ruthlessly efficient to this point of the year. And in terms of efficiency, I'm just going to bring it all up because I wrote it and we're going to talk about it. So wherever the explosive play is gone, click the article. I've been working on this for a couple of days. It really hit me in the press box this weekend against Southern Miss, because I was like, hold on a second. Like, this is, I looked, I was actually looking for something else, but then I started to see this and I dove down. So in terms of efficiency, we're talking about success rate. So this is a common tool used to measure efficiency by determining whether every play was successful or not. In terms of success in college football, successful plays are getting 50% of the needed yardage on first down. So 1st and 10, you get 5 yards. On 2nd down, you get 70% of the yardage. So 2nd and 10, you get 7. And then 100% you convert on 3rd and 4th down. So any play that meets that standard is a successful play by the metrics. Miami is 3rd nationally in, which one is it? In rushing success rate. So hitting their mark for success when running the ball. That is the very front page or the top of that article that Mark has right there. So 3rd nationally, that's elite. And if you talk about on passing downs, so 2nd and 8 or whatever, the other definition of passing down. So obviously 3rd, things like that. Miami is about 13th or 14th. It's a different graph and it's kind of hard to count them, but it's in that area. So again, out of 131 teams, you're in the top 10% on passing down efficiency. And so, you're in the 90th, 91st percentile. And in rushing downs, you're in the 99th percentile, like elite. There's 2 teams that are more efficient running the ball than Miami, and they're Michigan and Minnesota. That's it. It's the 3 M's at the top: Michigan, Minnesota, and then Miami in terms of rushing efficiency. And that's great. And I know that's a thing that Miami's been missing. But the explosiveness of offensive plays has been entirely non-existent. And I know that there were a couple, that 35-yard flea flicker and everything, but like there's just no explosion. And further down, 24th percentile in explosive play rate versus Bethune-Cookman, 2nd percentile of explosive play rate versus Southern Mississippi. That means we had fewer explosive plays than 97% of teams when evaluating that metric per game over the last year. That's atrocious. And again, 3 yards in a cloud of dust or 4 yards every play does move you down the field, and you want to be efficient. You want to get all those things, but we need to marry some explosion with the efficiency. And that's really going to come in the passing game, because the run game, if you make a guy miss, a successful play that was average or unexplosive can all of a sudden become explosive because you have a Devin Achane, you have a Jalen Knight, and you have a Henry Parrish make a guy miss, and then you get some yardage, or some big yardage. But this is really about the passing offense being, just dink and dunk. Like it's the, DJ Uiagalelei offense. They're talking about his completion percentage, but he's throwing, 3.5 air yards per target. He's throwing slants and bubble screens and, check downs and things like that. You're not pushing the ball vertically at all. And that just compresses everything. And now that makes it harder for everybody to be efficient, and you're balancing, you want clearly that great efficiency, but you need the explosiveness as well. So everybody in the passing game needs to be a lot more productive. Will Mallory, Xavier Restrepo, Elijah Arroyo, any of the other wide receivers, Keyshawn Smith, Romello Brinson, you get Jacoby George back off of a 2 game suspension. All of these things all these guys are coming back, and then we just got to dial up some schemes that we have not been dialing up. So it's not just Will Mallory, but I really urge you to go read that piece. I think I really did a very good job on that. Evaluation. I presented the numbers. I gave you some schemes further in there so we can run these things. And particularly, the one scheme that I want to see from a passing perspective that we've not really run except for like literally maybe twice this year is smash. It's an outside curl, and the inside number 2 receiver runs a corner route behind that. It's a high-low read. If you could do it against man, you could do it against zone. If it's man, you hit the open window. That's probably going to be on the corner route. If it's zone, you read the corner. If he sinks to the corner route, then you throw the quick hook. If he tries to jump the curl, then you throw it over his head. And Tyler Van Dyke was ruthlessly efficient with that last year. So again, ruthlessly efficient on a play that gives you the explosiveness that we're missing. And again, it's not just Will Mallory. It's not just Tyler Van Dyke. It's Josh Gaddis. And I know, look, we ran the ball a lot because we overmatched against these 2 teams that we played, and we could. It's one of those, Dad, why do I have to? Because I said so, or because I can, right? Cool. So we ran it because we could, but that's not going to be good enough against a team that is more talented than yours. And that's what we're going up against in Texas A&M. And again, they might not be better. They might not be better in performance, but they got all kinds of athletes all over the place. You're going to have to dial some of these things up. We're going to have to do these things. Now, there's been things like the end arounds to Xavier Restrepo, Keyshawn Smith, and Brashard Smith so far. You got the flea flicker. You got, a couple little things here and there where it's like a peek through. It's like, okay, well, we don't want to just be the Rhett Lashley offense and try inside zone on 3rd and 7. So we're going to dial up a little something. So I know it's there, and we've seen things. Look back to the Josh Gaddis offense, Michigan against Ohio State last year. That was exotic and explosive. I know that it has to be in there, but we haven't seen that. We haven't even run 4 verticals, really. Like the famous Mike Leach 6 play. Like everybody goes and you have side adjustments on that man zone. All of that's in there. So, I mean, we really need that. And Will Mallory is but one of the guys who needs to step up, but I think it's everybody. And starting with Tyler Van Dyke, because he admitted that he was not up to his standard last week, but he was pretty bad. He missed some. He was pretty bad. He was pretty bad. So he needs to step it up. Why show explosive plays if not necessary? Because you're going to need explosive plays to score, right? And even Appalachian State had some explosive plays against Texas A&M. Now, one of them was that big Cameron Peoples run that got them down on the last drive to salt the clock to get out of town with that win. But just because he didn't score on that does not make that any less explosive. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to need those things. You're going to need those kind of plays to score. And even last week against Southern Miss, Miami had to settle for field goals in the red zone. Why? Because that field gets small. Those windows get tight, bro. And eventually, 3rd and goal from the 9, probably not going to run that. So now you're going to probably face a 4-man rush. Maybe they bring another one. More often than not, teams are going to play zone on the back end. And good freaking luck with 7 guys probably back there finding a window and fitting that ball in there and not having somebody else leave their assignment or whatever to come over there. It just gets tougher to score points from that in the passing game from that area. So you're going to have to take the top off of the defense. And again, one hand washes the other, right? So you're going to be efficient in that run game. So why don't we run play action? Because they're going to come up, right? Why don't we try a shot over the top to loosen that secondary so we have room to run? It has to be both. So it can't just what I'm saying is it cannot only be efficient with no explosion. And it cannot only be explosion with no efficiency. Go look at, it was so explosive that it turned efficient, but that App State, North Carolina game from a couple weeks ago, they just scored every 3rd play pretty much. But you need an element of both is what I'm saying. And this is a real similar conversation to what Texas A&M was talking about, because they're very pedantic, they're very plodding on offense, and they're not getting these explosive plays, and they're not then, obviously, like you saw, they're not winning a game against a team that they're way more talented than. So it is, I believe, an element of explosiveness is necessary, but it does not need to be every single play. But it can't be where Miami has fewer explosive plays than 128 of the other 130, FBS level teams. That's not good enough. And that's what that piece is all about. That's what I've been talking about for 10 minutes. So go look into it. And we need to see a change.
Yeah, it's just difficult to, mathematically, if you were guaranteed to get 4 yards per play, you could keep the ball for the entire drive of every drive, and you would be the most efficient offense in the history of football. And you wouldn't technically need to be explosive because you would score every drive, but that's obviously impossible. And the probability of negative plays, probability of penalties, probability of turnover when you got to go
drops a ball.
15 play exactly. Somebody drops the ball. How many times do we see it? A flag on first down sets you down to 1st and 20, and it's tough to overcome. Or there's a drop pass on 3rd and 7. You've moved it 40 yards to the other team's 45, but your drive just got killed because somebody dropped a 3rd and 7 pass. All sorts of different things going on there. Negative play. You're suddenly 2nd and 13, and that's difficult to overcome, especially against that defense that's going to be lined up on Saturday night. So what you just outlined with the Miami offense through 2 games seems like the inverse of the issue in 2017. That team wasn't efficient, correct? But it hit big plays to put all its points on the board.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, very middling at best efficiency in 2017. But, they found ways to get guys, even with a pedestrian offense, a sedentary offense. There's not much motion, with Mark Richt and things like that. But, you have a Jeff Thomas, you have, these guys, who are playing the NFL, Travis Homer, DJ Dallas, Brevin Jordan, even MarkRogersTV, who, like Haynes King, is making plays with his legs, and everything. And he was explosive in that kind of way. But yeah, very low efficiency, but very high on the explosion. So just needs to have a balance of that. And again, it's not a zero-sum game. It does not have to be one or the other. It's not a binary kind of a situation. But even with marginally the same efficiency, we need just exponentially more explosion. Even, again, if you're talking about the 2nd percentile, so again, you're worse, or you have a lower output of explosive plays than 97% of teams, right? Even if you move that up into the 50th, 60th percentile, you know what I mean? Where you're just league average, like midway. That's, such an improvement that it would be a real added benefit. And again, I'm not saying that, the sky is falling. I'm not saying that, we need to abandon ship and change leadership, whether it's OC or head coach. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is through 2 games, we have not shown even a league average amount of explosiveness against overmatched opponents. So I am looking at that. I'm concerned, but I also do understand what a lot of people are saying, that is just the first 2 games. We went with vanilla offense. You're going to see it open up. It's going to be different. I understand what you were saying, but I need to see proof of concept. I need to see it be different, and I need to see the performance and production in terms of explosive plays being different right now, this week, on Saturday night.
Miami Hurricanes live right here every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern time. We've got about 300 on the line. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Check out State of the U throughout the week to prep yourself for the big game against Texas A&M. We otherwise would not go back to this topic, but we're going to, of course, honor Falconer X's Super Chat. Cam, I am wrong to believe the ESPN SEC moved game day due to Miami hate.
Honestly, I'm going to take Reese Davis at his word that, they were going to go to College Station and then just said, hey, they blew it, not us.
Yes.
And
yes.
So we're going to go somewhere else.
Yes.
Reese Davis, a good Michigander, got his first start in Grand Rapids, I believe, at a local station over there. So, kindred spirits, and everything. Since
Michigander, he's from Alabama.
Is he? Oh,
Reese
then he started his broadcasting career over
Davis,
there.
he's
Okay.
an Alabama guy.
Oh, okay. Well, I know for a fact that he worked over in West Michigan, so
Okay.
maybe I got that conflated. But yeah. So I mean, you could believe it and everything, but they already gave us the 9 o'clock kick, and then I mean, I guess Falcon or X, you would then extend that and say, well, they gave Texas A&M the 9 o'clock primetime game, and it just so happens to be against us and everything. But okay,
Not this time, I don't believe.
no.
If you look at the way they've mapped out College Game Day, I don't know when they started this, but they look for that one opportunity per year to
Yeah.
go to like an oddball kind of. We're going to go to North Dakota State and kind of
Mhm.
honor what they're doing up there because there's not really a obvious choice this week. They do that every year. They look for an opening to shoot somewhere that's kind of off the beaten path, just to kind
Yeah.
of honor the lower level teams.
Right, the tapestry of college football, because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fiercely regional, and everything.
Better said than
And yeah,
done.
and they earned it, I mean, Texas A&M fumbled the bag, they blew the game and everything, and said, you know what, going to the hills and the mountains of of North Carolina. It's the early mid part of September, so you might even get some of the leaves changing colors and everything. I mean, it's going to look gorgeous. I mean, it's going to be visually stunning. I know that, but yeah, hey, whatever.
All right, folks. Comments, questions. What do you have here? Reading, Keyshawn, Romello, you boys want to go to the league Saturday night.
I
The
mean,
night.
look, you're going to have a lot of eyes on you, spotlight game. Welcome back Jacoby George after his 2-game suspension and everything, and everybody was raving about him through spring and fall. So he has to create his own role on the team. So said Josh Gaddis, because you've been suspended for the first 2 games. When yeah, but I mean, yeah, Redding, Keyshawn, Romello, Jacoby George, Will Mallory, Elijah Arroyo, even a Jaleel Skinner. You're just going to need guys to step up in the passing game. Just going to plain and simple. I mean, you're going to need that. And this is going to sound like hating, but it's not, I swear. Xavier Restrepo is a nice player. Xavier Restrepo is a great number 3 receiver. If Xavier Restrepo is your number 1 receiver, you have problems. And at the moment, Xavier Restrepo is our number 1 receiver. And to have the kind of success that Miami wants to have, that just can't be. I'm sorry. Like, he's a gamer. He plays hard. He's quick. He has great hands. He, has good speed and everything. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a gym rat and da-da-da. I'm not going to, use that coded language or anything. But I do think that he's athletically limited. And I do think that there's a ceiling to his performance. And he has a role on this team, and it's a great role, but he's a number 3 / slot guy. Put him on an option route on 3rd down, let him cook, get him into space, even on 1st down or 2nd, like, you can do some things and be a valuable part of this offense in this passing game. But what Xavier Restrepo is not is a number 1 receiver. What he's not is Amon Richards. What he's not is, Andre Johnson. What he's not is Charleston Rambo. You know what I mean? He's simply not, and that's okay. It's not hating. But what I need, and my point of saying that is, asking him to be more than what he is detrimental to everybody. Let him be who he is. But then those guys who are listed in that tweet, the Keyshawn Smiths of the world, the Romello Brinsons, the Jacoby Georges, the Mike Redding the thirds, they have to step up and be the X and the Y. They have to step up, or the X and the Z. They have to be the big time number 1 receiver on the outside, so that we can let Xavier Restrepo be who Xavier Restrepo is. Because when we miscast him to try to make him the X receiver, the number 1 receiver, I just don't think that that's a great fit for everybody.
Kim, you did note a few times during the offseason that you had a slight concern, and correct me if I'm wrong if I didn't read this correctly, slight concern that under Mario Cristobal and his conservative approach at Oregon and just his experience in football, being as an offensive lineman, and they tend to be run-oriented guys that that the offense would lean in that direction and away from where you would like to see it go.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. Yeah, but even going to where he was would be an improvement. So again, in the same piece, which is still up on the front page of stateoftheu.com, I put it in there where was Mario Cristobal's Oregon in terms of explosive plays last? So isolated points per play and marginal explosiveness, 99th and 96th nationally. But again, when you consider that Miami is like 128th in those stats, even improving to where Oregon was is an improvement. And if you look at Josh Gaddis at Michigan last year, again, in isolated points per play and marginal effect or its explosiveness, Michigan's offense was 72nd and 42 in the country in those stats. I'll take that. 72nd is 51st percentile, 52nd percentile. So that's league average. 40 something, that's top third of the country. Look, I'm not saying that we have to be 1991 Houston with David Klingler or Andre Ware. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that it has to be all explosiveness all the time. I'm not saying that. But even if we get to the level that Michigan was in terms of efficient or explosiveness last year at a 51st, 52nd percentile in one and top third, top 35, 30% in the other statistic, that's enough. But right now we're literally at the bottom of the entire list. Yes, guys, Jacoby George can be that guy. Rooster. We saw Rooster, you know what I mean? But we've also seen Tyler Van Dyke hit vertical throws, but they're not even calling vertical throws except for a couple this year. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be a wholesale change. We don't have to be number 2 in isolated points per play and number 3 in marginal explosiveness, and then I'll be satisfied. We don't need to be that. But what we do need to be is at least league average or where Josh Gaddis was last year. 50 percentile in one, 30-something percentile in the other. Or, it's the other way. It's not 30th. It's 75th or 7th. Well, you know what I mean? Whatever. As long as we do that, we're league average or better in explosiveness and not the literal bottom of the list, we'll be okay. So even with where Mario was, a 10% increase on that into the, 75, 80 range even. That'll be enough explosive plays if the efficient running game is still there. It just can't be what it is, guys. That's all I'm saying.
From a certain standpoint, it sounds like Iowa's situation. I don't know if you've noticed this, Cam, and nobody's going to care in the chat, but Iowa's on a pace, and I understand it's only 2 games, but they haven't played Michigan, Ohio State. They've played North Dakota, not North Dakota State. They're the perennial champions. They played North Dakota, an FCS team, and Iowa State, a decent defense, decent team. And they are putting up like historic ineptitude offensively. And this is a team. So I did a breakdown and looked at it. I looked at it during the offseason and set everybody up for what was about to take place this season. They have not ranked in the top. And this is a team that when you put together with the special teams and the defense, which those guys must be pulling their hair out and how this doesn't cause dissension in the locker room, I don't know. This has been going on for years. They went to the Big Ten championship game last year with the 123rd ranked offense in the country. I don't know how you do that and go 10-3 and finish in the top 15 in the country, but they do it year after year. I had to go back to 2006 to find a top 50 offense in the country.
Sheesh.
They've been in the 90s, 110 range most seasons in the last 15 years. And they're finishing 15th, 20th in the country because, how do you operate like that? And so some Iowa fans come to the defense of the program to say, well, we're going 10-3, so that's good enough. Well, can you imagine having a company where, let's say you got an accounting department, a technology department, a sales department, and 2 of them are just crushing it, but your technology sucks. So, they're going offline every 13 minutes and they can't do their job and not do anything about it. Have a marginal quarterback And this has been the year of the transfer portal, and they didn't go out and get anybody.
Well, I mean, you got the other thing that we were dealing with before of that nepotism,
Yeah.
because Kirk Ferentz's son Brian is
Yeah.
the offensive coordinator, and I don't know if you've seen this, but they've been people have been duping Cameo creators to like send messages to Brian Ferentz. They had Bob Stoops, and they even got Kirk Ferentz himself, so the dad, the head coach, to like read this letter. It's like, yeah, you know, you buy the little shout out on Cameo or whatever, and you send them the script, and it's just like, hey, Brian, you know, you had a rough couple years, you know, but you know, you're there with the family business, and you know, it's just not going the way that you want. But you know, sometimes you find your path, or sometimes you need to make a change. And they literally had Bob Stoops do one, and they had Kirk Ferentz himself read this same script under this guise that they was like to their friend named Brian, but it was completely about his son Brian Ferentz. You know, just leaving the Iowa offense in the mud, which is, yeah, I mean, look, they scored 7 points and won a game and did not score a touchdown, 2 safeties and a field goal for their 7. Like,
their field goal drive was 5 yards. So
that's right, because they got a turnover because their defense is incredible. Like
their touchdown drive this last week was 15 yards. That was their touchdown drive for their first touchdown of the season. It's unbelievable how you would think, just like mathematical probabilities, that you would be better than 121 if you were 121 last year in total offense. That, you know, with the South Alabamas and the Western Kentucky and all these teams out there, that you have so much more talent than you would just, but by just handing the ball off and throwing play action passes, that you would just fall into it better.
But at some point, it's by design. It's by intentional scheme. You know what I mean? And I think that we're at that point with Iowa where it's not by happenstance. Like, no, this is not a glitch in the matrix. This is the function of the program. Like, this is doing what it was designed to do. I wouldn't say intended, because offensive football is intended to move the ball and score points, but it was what they have designed it to do. It has done. And yeah, so I mean, no, Miami is not in that place on offense, but in terms of explosive plays, we need more.
All right, folks. Last chance for any comments, questions that you would like to bring to the table. Otherwise, we will, of course, see everybody back here next Wednesday night. We've got another Miami Live coming up with a wholesome one on Thursday night. I was desperately attempting to get a Texas A&M media person on here at some point this week to give the A&M side.
They've been ducking people. We were supposed to do a collaboration, 2 different collaborations with Good Bull Hunting, and both of them we got ghosted for. You know, so I don't know. In terms of, I like the ball control offense. All right, bro. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. But if that efficiency slips, and you know, it's the couple of drives where you don't have a successful first down run, so you don't gain 50% of your yards, so you're not at 2nd and 5 or shorter, you know, and then you get a false start or somebody drops a ball, or you know, and then you need to make a throw. You got to move the ball. First of all, who are you throwing it to? Second of all, what kind of scheme are you employing to throw it to your intended targets? That, I mean, like, controlling the ball is fine, but you got to score points, bro. You got to score points.
Not to drag this back into the Iowa situation, because I don't even think Miami should be in this conversation because of the level of athlete in South Florida and in other locales that Miami's going after. I just don't even think, you want to be efficient. You don't want to be like throwing the ball, shooting from the hip, like let's turn the ball over like 14 times a game just because we're going to be No, not careless, and not playing to a game situation. You're up 21 points with 10 minutes left. You don't need to be, don't be the Atlanta Falcons with a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. And then afterward, when you're answering questions, say, well, that's how we play, that we were running our offense. Well, you can still run your offense, but run the play at 2 or 3 seconds on the play clock with the clock running, not at 25 seconds on the play. Like It was mathematically figured out. If the Atlanta Falcons, if the game would have went exactly the same, if they would have just run the play clock, there's no way they could have lost the Super Bowl. Like, don't be stupid.
And honestly, this balance, if you look back to that Notre Dame game from 2017, that was the balance of explosiveness and efficiency and in intellect in running the clock down and everything that everybody would want to see. Right? That first half, you have screen throw to DJ Dallas that goes for 40 something. That's an explosive play. You have the Malik Rozier touchdown run, which is like 18 or something on a second down play. That's an explosive play. You had DJ Dallas diving to the corner of the end zone on the other end zone. It was a short yardage because it was like within the 20, but that's an explosive play. You had the Trajan Bandy interception. I know that's defense, but that's an explosive play, right? What did we do in the second half? Throttle it down. They said, we're not going to let Malik Rozier throw this ball and ruin this for us. So we're going to run our offense. If it's a second down and they're playing off coverage over there, we'll check to a little slant. Okay, cool. We'll do that. But every play, to Mark's point, we're going to look to the sideline, hang out. Okay, we're going to do the thing. We're going to look at the, read all three backup quarterbacks. We're going to read those signs that they're doing and everything there. That okay, cool, looking like a baseball, coach. Cool. Get up to the line. 5, 4, 3, hut. And that's when we're going to run it. And that tempo went way down after earlier. The tempo was up and we caught Notre Dame a little bit unawares. So again, even in that game right there, that shows the balance of efficiency and explosiveness. And when, to Mark's point, we had a game, in hand, instead of being stupid and running it at that same breakneck pace where, yes, you could make more mistakes, especially with the state of the game, right, and the scoreboard, we're going to now manage the game so we get out of here with a win. And that right there is kind of emblematic of what we're talking. If you remember, that fourth down throw up the sideline to Lawrence Cager was in that one where he mossed over a dude and he flexed on him. And everyone's like, who is Lawrence Cager? He doesn't make plays like this. And we threw the ball down the field with Malik Rozier on fourth down, and we didn't even think about coming off the field. And all of those kind of things come together. And that's what I'm talking about. And if you want to think back, go back and rewatch that game, especially first half versus second half, and disregard the Bandy interception because that was defense. But you'll see what I'm talking about. Yes, you're going to have some efficiency because we were just way better than Notre Dame that day, so we were able to get those things. But also hit the explosive play here and there, which then changes the complexion of the game because when you hit those explosive plays, then hopefully you're changing the scoreboard.
And one more comment from me on the ball control offense. Let's say you're a Wisconsin fan. Makes total sense. And the difference between what Wisconsin typically does and what I was failing to do is that every successful college football program / team should have an identity, something they hang their proverbial hat on. They have an identity. The difference is your off units that aren't the identity or the strength of the program should still be supporting the other units. They shouldn't be a detriment. They shouldn't have to be overcome by elite play on the other units. They should support. So Wisconsin, with the likes of, the zillion running backs we could name and the great offensive line, support the typically top 10 defense in the country. Now,
one of the best coordinators around, Jim Leonard.
But, yeah.
It's the whole football team has to be synergistic. It cannot no component piece exists by itself. So the offense has to work in tandem with the defense. And then, obviously special teams, you want to have those things. Even Nick Saban realized you got to have explosive or be explosive in passing game if you want to be a national championship contender. Thank you, Charles Johnson. That's all I'm saying. You have to be able to hit explosive plays to be a really top tier team. That's all I'm saying. And you don't have to even hit as many as Alabama or anything, but to this point of the season, explosiveness on offense has been non-existent for the Miami Hurricanes. And that's a major component that I'm going to be watching on Saturday night. That's it. And I hope that everybody proves me wrong. I hope that everybody proves y'all right. You're saying, Cam, you're stupid. You don't know ball. It's only been 2 games. We've been running vanilla offense. It's going to change. I hope that it does. I'll walk by faith and not by sight because I have not seen it, but I hope that I do, right? And hey, if Josh Gaddis is like all of these things, all of these schemes that again are listed in this piece, and I hope they go read it, all of them are in the playbook. All of them are in the script. Throughout, we've been working on them. We're getting back one of our better wide receivers in Jacoby George, probably should be top of the rotation guy. You know, Tyler Van Dyke had a pretty bad game last week. He spent the extra time. He's going to get it together. You know, guys are going to continue not to drop passes, which has been great this year. I'm knocking on the wood of my desk so that we don't drop those or anything. But all those parts and pieces that people have been saying coming together, I would love to see that. And it would both support your point that, oh, Cam, we just did vanilla offense and it's going to change, and mine that the explosiveness, while missing for whatever reason, needs to be present for Miami to be the kind of successful that they need to be.
We're here every Wednesday, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Come on back next week. Bring a friend or two or more, like 50 would be good per person. Let's do that. But bring some folks with you. Cam, State of the U. Place to be.
Look, man, we have a bunch of great stuff. I know I wrote that piece. We have the 5 things that we liked through 2 weeks. Chris Picaro, we got a Justin DeTavio, tongue-in-cheek kind of a thing. We got a film preview. We got a matchups of the week. We have the how to watch already up there because, like, you know, I just want to make sure that everybody is planning appropriately for whatever their watching situation is, especially if they're not going to Kyle Field for this game. We got all that, and we got even more. I got a roundtable that I got to add my answers to that's probably going to go up tomorrow morning. You know, all kinds of different stuff, man. So we really leaned in this week to give you even more great content that I know that you guys are looking for. So please come on over and fan with us, stateoftheu.com, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The State of the U. My personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports, where currently I'm tweeting through my F1 manager career with AlphaTauri, where we just got our first win in the first season with Esteban Ocon in Belgium. In my alternate universe over there, and whatever else. So please, please, please do that. And also for the show, like, review, subscribe, and show up with some other people next week, and we'll do it again. It'll be fun.
Folks, if you want to take part in a it's a fun, it's a blast of a college football conversation. It does not include me. And it's every Wednesday night at 10:30 on my main channel. Just a bunch of Pac-12 guys that lead it, but it's just not strictly about the Pac-12. But they have a great time. They do a great job in bringing in other folks. You can get involved. You can be brought on screen if you want and ask questions, make comments. Just join in the conversation. It's not formal at all, and it's a whole lot of fun. So again, 10:30 Eastern time over on the main channel. Cam, as always, thanks for delivering. And we'll see you next week.
Do what I can. Absolutely. We'll see you guys. Hopefully, we're going to be celebrating a Miami win and looking ahead to the last non-conference game against Middle Tennessee State. But either way, I will do my best to be here, and we'll see you next week.